bigger than Zion.
The cat. Mark Jackson would not like my cat. Man.
I'm telling you, the torque that this cat generates is unbelievable.
If you ever seen her dunk,
this cat has a 52-inch vertical. I've seen it in action.
That's pretty good stuff, man. Who came up with that? That's
Miss Lorena.
That's pretty awesome.
She's in the house.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, the cat, man, she does have some hops too. She jumped a fence one time, which I never thought would happen.
But getting back to Brandon Ingram, he had a terrible shooting night, 6 of 22. But
missed
as a true scorer, he did get 11 trips to the free throw line. Or 11 shots.
He had 2 crucial misses in the fourth quarter too. And I saw a couple of fans upset about that. The fans were really so hyped. You know, they even had an MVP chant for Zion at the free throw line at one point. But they had the "We Want Zion" chant came in 5 minutes and a half or so, whatever it was. Zion came out of the game in the fourth quarter. The minutes restriction was hit. You know, they're saying Aaron Nelson, the head trainer, called for that. Everybody's saying, well, what's going on with Alvin Gentry? Well, that was out of Gentry's hands. Gentry, you know, love or hate Gentry, whatever the situation might be, he had no say-so there. That was David Griffin. That was Aaron Nelson making that call to get Zion out the game. But there was a key moment. The fans chanting, "We want Zion," and some people think that kind of might have interfered a little bit with Ingram. I mean, Ingram has to be a professional, hit your free throws. I mean, look, if you're on a road and fans are screaming in the fourth quarter, you got to hit them. But some fans are like, "Oh, why were we being silly and screaming?" I can't put that on the fans, though. I think it was. I mean, you know, he's just got to make those free throws.
I mean, you got to give Ingram a break. As far as this is why I'll give him a pass on that one. Guys never really been in a high leverage, a high intense situation like that.
Yeah.
You know, first time around, he might have missed the free throw. He might have got in his head. Who gives a shit? It's a game in January.
No, but there was a lot of noise. I guess people were mad about the fans. In
the first game of Zion, you know, who's gonna remember that? You know,
no, I mean, like
3 months from now.
It's funny because I saw a lot of outlets and a lot of guys I respect. I don't want to say any names, but I read a lot of guys are in local media. And some of them were like, man, this could be a game that comes back to haunt you. You know, what if you finish one game outside the 8th seed, you know, at the end of the season, you miss the playoffs on that. But to me, my thing is this. They were looking at saying, oh, well, you know, why didn't Zion just finish the game? And I mean, and I'll be honest with you. If it was planned ahead of time, if you really – he played 18 minutes. Mm-hmm. He had 22 points, 8 rebounds, phenomenal night, 8 of 11 shooting. The guy was outstanding. The fourth quarter was epic. But – if he finishes that game, I think you have a great chance of winning. But I guess it was just set in stone so much to where they weren't going to exceed that 20-minute mark. You know what I mean? Like David Griffin, they kept panning to David Griffin on ESPN. And, you know, he looked like a dude that was, you know, just like he was like on Wall Street ready to call all the shots or something, man. Like at the stock exchange, like you don't mess with this guy, man. Like he's, you know, Griffin had his – basically he had his presence felt. And, I mean, between him and the training staff, they weren't going to allow him to play. Fans are going to be pissed about that, but you got to think greater good long term. You know, if they said 20 minutes and they feel that's the best way to go, you got to respect that. It's going to be 20 minutes.
Well, let me tell you this. This is the best group the Pelicans have ever had as far as front office, training staff, you know, the whole nine. Everything. Well, everything with the organization
is
screaming first class right now. It's screaming top of the league.
Yeah.
You have to listen to those guys when they tell you. Who gives a shit about winning a game in January?
Yeah.
In late January. In the first game of Zion.
Yeah.
Zion tweaks something. He leaves the game.
Yeah. Everybody's freaking out. Why'd you play him so many minutes? It's gonna be
then everybody's calling for somebody to get fired in the front office and the training staff.
And that's why, you know, I always allude to baseball shit because I'm such a massive Cubs fan.
At the end of the day, the rest of those guys need to step up and win that game.
Absolutely.
He put them in position.
He put them in a spot to
win the game.
They were leading by 1 point. I think they were down when he left, but they were winning that game by 1 point right a minute or so before he left the game.
You have a team that's won 14 out of 18 or whatever.
Yeah, they've been hot. They've been really hot.
Without Zion,
yeah.
Why all of a sudden do you need Zion to win this game when the training staff is saying let the guys sit?
No, and that's what I'm saying. I saw too many people, and like I said, these are guys I respect.
That's armchair quarterback.
I just disagree, though. You know, I just disagree with their take saying that, oh, this could cost you so much. No, you have to think long-term and big picture. Mm-hmm. You know, like I said, I allude to baseball. And Steven Strasburg, World Series MVP this year, the Nationals had this strict pitch count with him when he was 19, 20 years old coming out. I remember one year they made the playoffs early in his career. They shut him down for the season. They did not allow the guy who was their best pitcher to go and pitch in the postseason. Drove fans nuts up there. Now, it took a while. It took 10, 12 years later, but they won a World Series. And he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He just signed a $300-something million, $200 million contract, whatever it might be. This guy, it worked. Sometimes you got to trust these training staff guys and let them. I mean, there's a reason you're paying Aaron Nelson and that training staff the millions you're probably dispensing there. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason for that.
Man, well, I'd like to welcome somebody into the room. Somebody that has a legion of followers out there. A legion, in his world space. Joel Smith, leader of the Saints.
Speaking of Joel, that's another thing too, man. We saw a lot of criticism about the way Zion, came out of the game. I've seen Joel's been pretty adamant about this. This is another thing I want to talk about too. The criticism of Drew Brees, man. I don't understand what people are thinking. Like, go back to when this franchise was ran by quarterbacks like Heath Shuler, Steve Walsh, Billy Joe Overthrow, Billy Joe Hobart. You know what I'm saying?
Ow.
I mean,
Ouch.
Steve Walsh, baby. You know what I'm saying? They even had a song back in the day. I remember it used to come on, sound like Vanilla Ice, Ice Ice Baby. I'm probably the only one who remembers that. But they were hyped up about Steve Walsh when he came out of Miami. Walsh was freaking terrible. You know what I'm saying? We had such shit quarterbacks. Kerry Collins, when he even knew what planet he was on, drinking week to week. When he got cut by the Panthers. We go pick him up the next week. Hey, you're our starter now.
They said, hey, I have a great idea. What? Let's sign this guy that's an alcoholic and bring him to NOLA.
You know what's funny? But you saying that, and that goes to show you upper management. When a team is ran the right way. Because right now, with Jeff Ireland, Mickey Loomis, Sean Payton, Drew Brees at the helm at quarterback at 40, still, the leadership in that room. I mean, we see Aaron Glenn probably going to end up getting a defensive coordinator job. Dennis Allen, Darren Ritzie. Great leadership makes shit work.
I mean, what is the first question you ask any prospect or free agent before you bring him to New Orleans?
I would definitely bring alcohol into the situation.
Are you an alcoholic? Is the question that we need
to ask. You don't have to like crawfish, man. But if you're an alcoholic,
the alcohol will find you.
Yeah,
here. I mean, honestly,
you can just walk out the store.
Some places is just so boring that you have to drink.
Yeah,
those flyover states. But
try getting into Disney World with alcohol. Not like into Disney World. I should take that back. That sounds really bad. Try getting into downtown Disney.
Hey, Disney, we're definitely not sneaking alcohol into your establishment. I promise you. Don't look for me. Maybe look for him, but don't look for me because I won't do it.
No, but it's funny, man. Like, you cannot go in, like, downtown Disney. My wife's there. She's, like, thinking she's going to walk out of downtown Disney where all the shops, this cool little area, restaurants, some Disney stuff. Whatever the kids, man. We got, a way home. We're not driving. And, my wife and me, we're drinking a beer.
Tell me.
She's just thinking, oh, shit, well, I'm just going to drink this beer, walk around, and walk out of here, and then we'll go catch our ride back to the hotel. Yeah, right. You cannot leave any place, restaurant, park, bar, game. You think you could leave with a drink? There's no such thing as a Go Cup anywhere except New Orleans, Louisiana, and other parts of the state. Some of them, not every one.
But you need your Go Cup so you can put it in your drink holder in your vehicle as you drive off down the interstate.
Drive through the daiquiris, but don't do that sports betting. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
hey,
let's not
you
legalize
can get your
that.
alcohol, but if you had that straw in there, you got.
It's like you almost just pop the straw right out. The cop just comes by you. All right, you good. Put the straw back in. Hey, I fucking saw that straw go back in. Pull it back out. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Just don't have the straw in. You know what I'm saying? Just don't stick it in till you get home, guys. You know what I'm saying? That's always the rule of thumb. Best safety practices. And y'all know what I'm talking about. That's for more than one element of life.
Safety, yeah.
Safety first, man.
Be safe. Be safe with your alcohol and be safe, when you're out there and hanging out. Just always be safe.
Be safe.
Live safe.
No white snake stuff on the way home, man. You don't need a chick getting on the hood or anything like that and drinking a doob, smoking a doobie. You don't need none of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about that, but tell us more.
Nothing. I'm gonna leave it at that. You don't want that. That's what you don't want.
Hey, so we were saying something about Drew Brees before we got off on a tangent.
But it's funny. No, on a Saints forum, there were some haters on Drew Brees, and I'll tell you, Joel and a lot of people were really like, "Hey, man, what the hell is wrong with y'all?" I mean, we don't really even have to. Do we have to bring up Drew Brees in all his accolades? We don't. We know what Drew Brees is. He's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I mean top 10.
If you're mad because he's lost a little bit off of his fastball, guess what?
Yeah,
I lost a lot when I turned 40. I woke up 2 weeks later. I couldn't move my neck.
Right.
That's the type of stuff that happens when you're 40. Imagine having played football for 20 years, getting hit, roughed up in all those car accidents, and waking up 40. You're gonna feel some stuff. Yeah. I mean, there's only one guy that drinks the blood of children, and can play till he's 48 years old. And we think we all know who that is, the guy that didn't win a championship this year.
But you know what? He even fell off a little bit last year. I thought his arm – I mean, he's still a great quarterback. But Brady, to me, his stuff wasn't there as much. You know, the zip on the ball. The game looked a little fast for him at times, and they still won a Super Bowl.
Drew Brees still has plenty of zip on the short ball. He can think the game all the way through, but 30-yard passes are a thing of the past.
And to me, and that's what Taysom Hill, like, you know, I've talked about before, the two-man system at quarterback. You know, instead of bringing Taysom in to throw 1 or 2 passes a game, there could be a couple possessions that go to Taysom Hill. You know what I'm saying? And Drew Brees, to me, would work with Taysom Hill. You can show the stretching in the field.
Taysom Hill is a guy that you can almost always have in your lineup because he can play almost every position in the lineup and block at the same time.
Now, speaking of which, you know, I think Drew Brees comes back. I know no announcement's been made. You know, I think Drew Brees comes back. I think everybody's kind of feeling that same regard. Taysom Hill, let's be real. Teddy's going to move on probably. We talked about this prior. We don't want to get too deep into that. But there's talk. This is the big thing. Mel Kiper put his mock draft out. I still think that's way too early in January, but you know everybody wants to do mock drafts early. He's got, you know, Jordan Love, Utah State quarterback.
Yeah, I know.
What do you think?
Prospect, and if you want a quarterback these days,
I mean,
you can't. You got to draft him in the first round. You may be able to get one later in the first because a lot of teams have a guy, or at least some semblance of a guy that might not be the right guy, but a guy they're going to stick with. So there's not a whole bunch of quarterback openings. But if you want that quarterback, you're going to have to get him in the first round. End of the first round is a good spot for Jordan Love. That's,
let me
that's
ask you
probably
this,
a good value right there.
Well, you got the 24th pick, okay?
But you may have to move up if you're hearing stuff.
Well,
so.
I mean, the thing is, you still got Jalen Hurts there. The Tua thing I'm thinking is less and less likely. I mean, they keep saying he's going to throw now just in a few months. If he looks decent in the workouts, he's going to be a top 5 pick.
He may.
Miami's probably going to go.
He's not getting past Miami.
Carolina.
There's a good chance somebody moves up in front of Miami.
Yeah, Carolina's there. They're up high. They're last place season for Carolina. They're drafting in the top.
And then Miami might wind up with Jalen Hurts.
Of the draft. Miami could get Jalen Hurts, and I mean,
but I keep hearing. I hear a lot of people. There's a lot of mixed chatter on him. Some people don't like his outside throwing capabilities and his consistency.
Let me ask you this, though, about
Love. An athletic quarterback.
Love didn't have a tremendous year statistically last time I checked. I remember watching him a little bit earlier on. Obviously, LSU did play them. And he was up and down a little bit this year. But the big picture for him – well, no, absolutely. The big picture for him – remember, Pat Mahomes – got slaughtered by some teams in college. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't doing what he's doing with the Kansas City Chiefs.
There's a lot of context that the people don't know about.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. Absolutely.
He lost all of his top receivers and some guys off of his offensive line.
Well, Tim Tebow wasn't a great –
difference.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of these guys were great quarterbacks in college. Obviously, they don't carry over. It's been known for years. Tim Tebow's of the world. Exhibit A.
Danny
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, Drew Brees at Purdue wasn't winning national championships. You know what I'm saying? Tom Brady didn't even play hardly in college. He was behind Drew Henson at the University of Michigan. So, let's be real. You know, Ben Roethlisberger, Carson Wentz, small school guys.
It's the intelligence and the decision making which makes a quarterback and being able to make the throws.
And that's the thing. They got to look at the tape.
Being capable of making throws to all quadrants.
They got to look at the tape and say, I mean, you've heard comparisons. Some people say a poor man's Pat Mahomes. And that, to me, is intriguing in itself. But, you know, the kid's going to work out. To me, a combine's not going to do too much for me with a quarterback. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not that impressed with anything a quarterback can do in a combine, in my own opinion. I'm not worried. I think the combine's overrated to begin with.
Honestly,
I think when you see what DK Metcalf did, that's the thing that stands out to me. A guy you saw play a little bit of ball, look good on the field.
You'll know a lot about a quarterback watching his tape.
That's what I'm saying. His tape, to me, is the main thing. Now, he played at a small college. But if Sean Payton sees this guy's got the raw characteristics of what he wants going forward, if he could put him with Drew Brees 1 or 2 years, he could be the guy. I mean, you could have two valuable options behind Drew Brees with Taysom Hill
and honestly,
Love
even if a guy plays at a small college, you can still see his decision making.
Yeah.
The guys might not be as athletic, but he still has to read through progressions.
Right.
And if you're seeing that even at a smaller school, that's what you're looking for.
I'm not I don't trust Fromm from Georgia to save his life. I don't trust that guy for shit.
You know, do we trust a guy that plays in a major college
that's
that
what
makes
I'm saying.
1 or 2 progressions?
That's what I'm saying. Because remember, Fromm or whatever
that stares down his receivers before he makes the throw to a wide open guy.
Well, Fromm, remember, he was considered possibly a first round pick. To me, I wouldn't draft that guy in the first 3 or 4 rounds. I mean, I've seen enough of that guy in the SEC. You talk about decision making, terrible decision making, poor accuracy. I don't like that. To me, if this Love kid, you know, we hear he's got a good arm, he's very mobile, he's got a good head on his shoulders. If the accuracy is there, if they feel the accuracy could be upper half of the NFL good, you might have to take a look at this kid based on all the other attributes, the canvas that's there. Because to me, I look at a guy like Fromm who plays in a big conference. I don't see the accuracy. I don't see the good head making, the good decision making. You know, out of the
Not
head.
the good head giving.
No head giving at all. No, but by the way, real quick, 13 points. Pelicans trailing. It's not looking good tonight, guys. 5.5